So a lot to look forward to in this race and the one in Minneapolis. And on that subject, let's move over now to the Minneapolis City Council. There are 13 races, one for each ward there. There are 6 of them with larger implications. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is going to talk a little bit deeper about what that means. So, Mike, what are the biggest takeaways from these races tonight?
Randy, 13 seats up for grabs tonight. We're up for grabs tonight, as you mentioned. We have results for all but one of them. That one, it looks like will go to a second ballot in the ranked choice voting system. And this is good news, it appears, for Mayor Jacob Frey should he win a third term. And that is because at this point, with the results, it appears that the progressive majority on the council will no longer have a veto-proof majority to override his vetoes as they have on at least a handful of occasions over the last year. Let's start with some of the results in those 6 races that I've been mentioning all night. Let's start with Ward 5. This is North Minneapolis, a seat that was open because Jeremiah Ellison did not run for re-election. In that case, Pearl Warren, who is endorsed by pro-Frey groups, has a 37%, or 38%, I should say now, of the vote. That will go to a second ballot. That is the only contest for which we do not have a winner at this point. Let's head on now to the second open seat tonight, Ward 8. This is South Minneapolis, and Soren Stevenson, a FATE-endorsed candidate, a progressive candidate, won that seat. Ward 11, South Minneapolis, another open seat. This is the third open seat because Emily Koski did not run for re-election. Jamison Whiting, who was seen as the front runner, is the winner there. And now on to other competitive races. These were races in which the incumbents faced tough races considered competitive. Ward 2, this is the east side, including the area of U and M, U of M, I should say. Robin Wansley, the incumbent, won that race. So that case is a case of a progressive keeping her seat. In Ward 7, this is parts of downtown, Bryn Mawr, downtown West, Loring Park, and some other areas. Katie Cashman, this was an upset tonight. She was a progressive incumbent, lost her re-election bid to Elizabeth Schaefer. Schaefer is a moderate who is thought to align with Frey. In fact, Jacob Frey endorsed her candidacy. Finally, Ward 10. This is the uptown area. Incumbent Aisha Chugtai is the winner there, so that is another progressive incumbent keeping her seat. So to recap, the progressives who took control of the Minneapolis City Council 2 years ago in the last round of elections will, it looks like, keep the same number of seats, but because of the makeup of the other races, the results will not, likely will not have those additional 2 votes needed to have the veto-proof majority. So that is good news again for Mayor Jacob Frey should he win a third term. But of course, that has yet to be decided. Eyes focused on that race. Randy.
All right, Mike, thank you. That's very helpful. Here to help us break down the races and the results thus far, Fox 9's political reporter Corin Hoggart and political analyst Blois Olson joining me here too. A lot to break down. What catches your attention the most from what we've seen so far tonight?
Well, Randy, I think the number one thing is that there's not going to be any acceptance speeches here in the very near future. May come later tonight in St. Paul, but boys, when you look at that Minneapolis race and you see Mayor Frey with 42%, a plurality in the first rank voting, but with 56% for the block of 3 that ran against him, what are his chances there?
Well, that's what we're going to have to watch tomorrow. They will count the next ballot tomorrow. But he has to pick up 5 points, essentially, from Dwayne Davis and 5 points from Jazz Hampton. But if those voters stayed solid, what you'd have to look at is neither Dwayne Davis nor Jazz Hampton were as liberal as Omar Fateh. And so if those were moderate voters who said, I don't like Frey, I'm going to go there, maybe I'll rank Frey second or third, that's Frey's only path. If they stayed together as a block, then there's some trouble for Mayor Frey.
We'll see if that coalition holds. When we look at the city council races there, as Mike mentioned, it's looking like if Frey returns as mayor, he won't have a majority, but he will have the ability to veto things and not have it come back on him. It looks like 6-7 pro-Frey to anti-Frey.
Yes, that is the case. But the thing that I watched there is the races that the pro-Fry people thought were going to be close in Uptown and by the University of Minnesota were not close. And that tells me that Fate really turned out in those wards. And that is why this race is close. And that's why if those were the places where that block stayed together, that's something to watch tomorrow.
Yeah. Can I ask something here? Just, you guys are making a lot of sense. And it's sometimes we get inside baseball here with the folks that don't live in Minneapolis or St. Paul. So I want to ask you, what is the biggest difference between, say, an Omar Fate and Mayor Fry? Mayor Fry for many years was considered very, very liberal. Now, because of the essence and breakdown of how the other candidates' politics sit, he seems more moderate. How big a difference is there between those two candidates?
There's a pretty good, significant difference there. You have to remember, Randy, Jacob Fry won by beating Betsy Hodges, and Mayor Fry was the more moderate candidate then. The difference between Senator Fate and Mayor Fry, Senator Fate supports rent control. He supports a personal income tax on wealthy Minneapolis residents. Those are two big issues. Homeless encampments, housing in general. I think there's a very distinct difference between the two in policy. The question is, could Fate get things done with the council the way Fry has had to navigate that? And as you look at that 6-7 issue, that's what really the future of Minneapolis is going to hold.
Yeah, when you look at St. Paul now, we again don't have the numbers just yet for a final winner there. We don't have a majority for either Representative Herr or Mayor Carter, but as she mentioned, we're hopefully going to get those because of the way that the system works in Ramsey County, right?
Correct. And ultimately, they invested in machines that should be able to count that tonight. And as she mentioned, if Mayor Carter doesn't get over 50, which he has on the first ballot the last 2 times, that's a good sign for Representative Herr.
Yeah, hard for the incumbent to overcome in the 2nd and 3rd ranks, as you mentioned, which is also a hurdle that Mayor Fry will have to overcome.
Absolutely.
All right, if we have another second, I'd love to talk about
Go ahead.
Anoka and Hennepin and the school board races, which were some of the first numbers we saw there, but that is kind of an outlier as far as school board races go and campaign financing.
Yeah, a lot of outside money, a lot of third-party groups. Minnesota's largest school district. Conservatives won 1 seat. Teachers Union endorsed candidate won 2. That keeps the school board about where it is. But those, I think, are the issues we're going to continue to see in some of these places. The other things we've seen is big growing districts pass the referendum. Rural shrinking districts did not.
And we had 95 of those referendums across the state. So asking people to put more money on their property tax bill to improve their schools, tough call.
It's going to be a tough call. And, of course, that's where real local politics matter.
Yep. All right, Randy, back to you.
Again, short leash, guys. Don't go anywhere.
You got it.
You can find out all the results for all 201 Minnesota elections from mayoral race.